Hello. I'm Nikki Hamilton. I'm super excited today to share with you some of the communication secrets that are needed in life and leadership. So I don't know if you've ever found yourself in a situation where it's like, I've totally been misunderstood here, or you didn't get the message that I was trying to send out, or this is all mixed up, lost in translation. Or maybe you've had a situation where you've misunderstood something. Oh, I thought you meant that. What? Now I'm confused. So how often is it that communication for us can lead to messiness, not only in business and leadership, but also in relationships? So what I want to go through today, now there's lots in communication that I can talk about. I could probably talk about communication for 5 hours and I cover a lot obviously in my program, but ultimately today what I want to share is one little tip that can really help make sure things don't get lost in translation. Make sure that communication is a little easier for you guys. And like I said, for those of you, I've got 2 people registered already on the masterclass on the 5-day reset workshop I'll be running next week. So if you're keen to connect for 5 days, just 30-45 minute sessions in the morning for 5 mornings, just to reboot, reset. I'm really looking forward to sharing that. So if you're interested in that, just type workshop in the chat and I can make sure that you get the registration link. But let's make sure that we get this information out to you today on communication. So this little tiny piece amongst a big plethora of information on communication has changed so much in my communication style and how I understand communication. So let's just tell you this. There are 2 types of speakers. When people are speaking, there'll be 2 types of patterns that they use. They'll either be direct speakers or indirect speakers. So what do I mean by that? A direct speaker might say something like, "Hey Sally, I'm thirsty, can you please get me a drink?" So there's a clear instruction there. An indirect speaker might say, "Hey Sally, I'm really thirsty." And so an indirect speaker has a hidden message of like, "Gee, I hope she gets me a drink," but not necessarily communicated well. So a direct speaker communicates the need, the request. An indirect speaker will have more inferred messages. Now, of course, we also get people who hear things in different ways. So we have our listening style. So we have our speaking style and we also have our listening style. So we can have direct listeners that only hear direct messages. So a direct listener, if they hear a message that says, "Hi Sally, can you get me a drink of water?" They'll say, "Cool, I'll go and get you a drink of water, no problems." And a direct listener will hear that direct message. A direct listener will not hear underneath messages. So if I say to a direct listener who is very good at hearing direct messages, "Hey, I'm really thirsty," that direct listener might say, "Oh, okay." So we have direct speakers who speak a clear message, indirect speakers who maybe have a hidden message within the message. We have direct listeners that only hear clear messages and everything else underlying that is missed. And we have indirect listeners or inferred listeners. And an inferred listener will go, if you say to them, "Hey, I'm really thirsty," that inferred listener will go, "Oh, I wonder if she wants me to get her a drink." They'll look for the hidden message. So where this goes wrong, where it all gets mixed up, where we start to unravel with our communication is when we have an indirect speaker. "Hey, I'm really thirsty." So I'm speaking to you indirectly. There's a message under there that I'm hoping you'll receive. When an indirect speaker speaks to a direct listener, a direct listener doesn't pick up on the hidden message and will go, "Oh, you're thirsty. Okay." And what happens over a period of time, if I said to my husband, hey, I'm really thirsty, every night for 6 months, and then something small happened, and if he's a direct listener and says, okay, that's nice, if something small happens in our relationship, I might explode and say, you never listen to me. I've been asking and telling you that I'm thirsty, hoping you'll get me a glass of water for the last 6 months. You don't listen. And as a direct listener, he might say, well, why didn't you just ask? I would have got you a drink if I'd known. Who's ever had that situation where it's like, well, I've been asking for this, and someone's like, well, I didn't know. Why didn't you just tell me? Well, I shouldn't have to tell you. I've been telling you I'm thirsty. You should know that that means I'm getting a drink. Sometimes, to a direct listener, it's not that clear. And I don't know if you've ever been on the receiving end of that, where someone says, I've been telling you this for ages, and you think, really? I totally missed that. I didn't get it. It might be that you were more of a direct listener and missed the hidden messages. So this mishmash of how to speak, how to listen, speaking directly, speaking with an indirect message, a hidden meaning, listening directly, which misses the message, listening indirectly, which looks for messages. These are all of our speaking styles, our listening styles that get cross-wired all over the place in relationships and in leadership. And so I have explored this at great depth. I'm quite a direct speaker, and I have been. It's probably a natural, intuitive thing for me. It's not a good or a bad thing, it just is. And I'm more of a direct listener as well, which sometimes I know it means that I've missed the hidden message. I'm totally missed that. And I was speaking to a close girlfriend a little while ago, and she is indirect in her way that she speaks and indirect in the way that she listens. So she listens for messages. And I was speaking to her, and we had this conversation, and she asked me, look, didn't you understand that that's what that person meant? And I was like, no, I did not understand that, because that's not what she said. And I realized then I'm not good enough at listening to indirect messages. But here's what the interesting thing that I found is that this particular girlfriend had trouble throughout her life with relationships and communicating her needs. And, you know, it's hard when you're a coach and you've got friends, and I kind of danced around, I want to coach you right now, but you're also my friend. But the coaching question that I put to her is like, why don't you just speak your needs directly? Like, why don't you just ask for what you need? And here's what her description was. It was, I feel like when I speak what I need, I'm like walking across a minefield of what will they think, what will they say, what could go wrong, what might explode, what like all of the problems that might happen as a result of me speaking directly. And then I realized that can be a real problem for us. It's like, what will they say? What will they think? And I realized the hurdle to speaking directly is very often worry, the catastrophe that might occur, or pleasing people. And those of you who have watched my people-pleasing video will know that pleasing people really is just avoiding your own discomfort. This isn't comfortable, so I'll shrink back and I'll be quiet, and I'll just say a message indirectly and hope you receive it, and then when you don't, I'll hold resentment and frustration, and now we've got tension in the relationship. I'm frustrated and resentful that you're not hearing my message, even though I'm not speaking it loud and clear. So this creates problems. So I think as leaders and as women, there are two things that we need to do to improve our ability to communicate. Number one, we need to learn how to speak directly. We can't hope and send a message out and hope someone receives it and then get annoyed when they don't. We can't have a mixed message underneath the layers and assume someone's a mind reader. They're not. So if there's something that we want within our business, within our leadership, within our family, within our team, hey, I really need this to happen. Is a really simple start of a statement to be able to speak directly. The impact of all of this around me has been this. I need this to change. This is how I'd like it. Is there anything that we can do together to create that? It's a very simple way of creating direct messages when you speak. But here's the next thing. As a leader and in relationships, it is best if you can learn to adapt your listening style to be indirect. Because here's the thing, there are many people in our circles, whether it's in our teams, whether it's in our families, who have trouble speaking directly, who worry, who are people pleasers, who think, oh, I don't know what she's going to say, I'll just say this thing with a hidden message and hope she receives it. And we have to have empathy and understanding that not everyone has confidence in communicating a clear message, and that's okay. We need to we need to step up as leaders and have that empathy and understanding that not everyone has the ability to communicate directly for a number of reasons. It could be things that have happened in the past, it could be confidence within themselves, it could be self-trust, it could be just practice, habit, or what they've watched their parents do, like lots of different reasons. And so as leaders, it's best if we tune in to indirect listening, which means what that sounds like is if someone speaks to me in my business or my family about a need, I will now clarify, hey, you've told me you've felt this. Is there anything I need to understand more about what you need with that? Just so I have it clear. Hey, can you tell me a little bit more about this so I understand? So I'm seeking to hear more to understand, because that gives that person permission to speak a bit more directly. I'm opening up the door for them, because I can't assume that everyone has the confidence, the self-trust, the practice to be able to speak directly. And sometimes as leaders we will miss messages, and I have missed messages in the past. This is part of being human being, is knowing that we've got that wrong. So the summary for today, it's been a lot, but it's a very simple process in actual fact, is understanding that we can speak directly about what we need and want and what the boundaries are and what we expect, all of those things. We can speak directly, or we can speak indirectly. Indirectly means saying, hey, I'm thirsty, when you really mean, hey, can you grab me a drink? When we speak indirectly, messages get lost, messages get missed, and then we can live in a space of resentment and frustration because someone's not a mind reader. So that's not where we want to be as leaders. Then as listeners, you can be a direct listener, which means you only hear direct messages and anything underneath is kind of like skipped for you. Like it's not a good or a bad thing, it's just practice. Or we can be indirect listeners, which means someone's talking to us, I wonder if they mean something else. Not to go down a rabbit hole of like if, then, when, I don't know, maybe it's this, maybe it's that, I'll make up a story. Not that. It's indirect listening is merely just asking, can you clarify if there's something further that you need here, just so I understand. So I don't mean, let's go down a rabbit hole of stories about what we think that they mean. It's not that. It's asking. So these 4 communication styles, this is a little leadership hack in life and in business, in learning to communicate, in learning to listen, because we all know that when we're misunderstood, when we misunderstand things, when things get lost in translation, things get messy, it can impact business, it can impact teams, it can impact families, it can impact relationships. So I hope this video has been helpful today. I love talking about communication. It's one of the areas that I'm passionate about.